human behavior is doing everything it can in your life to guide you to your authentic self. It's guiding you to the most profound you. It's guiding you to power that you have in all areas of your life. Every human being, including you and the people you care about and the people you interact with, at any one moment in your interaction, is living by a set of priorities, a set of values, things that are most to least important in their life. And I really can't do justice to human behavior without discussing values. I discuss them in almost every presentation I do. But this set of values is unique to them. It's a culmination of all the experiences and all the voids, all the judgments that they think are not the way they imagined their life to be. For instance, if you believed that you were to be treated a certain way as a child and you didn't get the treatment you thought, you might have thought, I missed out on something. And that judgment is a void that you now are trying to navigate your life to try to fill. Whatever is most missing becomes most important. Our voids drive our values. So our human behavior is built of that because our hierarchy of values, our set of priorities that we live by, dictate how we perceive, decide, and act. All of our human behavior. And anything that we perceive that supports us in fulfilling what we value most, we label good. And we attract to it and open up to it and have an impulse to seek it and consume it, you might say, or let it come into our life. Anything that we see challenging our values, we tend to withdraw from it, have an instinct from it, and label it something bad and avoid it like a predator. We seek a prey, we avoid a predator. We seek something that is food, we avoid being eaten, you might say. Now, no two people have the same hierarchy of values, and no two people have the same pathway in navigating it through their life, and they have a different vantage point and a perspective on anything. That's why 10 people could take the same accident and describe it differently, or the same event. But everybody's trying to fulfill what they value most. And nobody's trying to go to school. No kids are going to school because they want to just go study those classes necessarily. They want to go study what's important and meaningful to them. And whatever's most fulfilling to them is what they're pursuing. If they can see how the classes at school are helping them fulfill that, they're engaged in school. Nobody goes to work at a company for the sake of a company. They go to work because they want to fulfill their values. If they feel that the job description and the mission of the company and the objectives of the company are helping them fulfill what they value most, they're engaged in the company. And as shockingly as this may sound, because all you romantics out there possibly, nobody gets in a relationship unless they perceive it's going to give them more advantage and disadvantage to what they value most. I've asked thousands, tens of thousands of people when they're looking for a relationship, what are they looking for? And they're looking for somebody who's fit. They're looking for somebody who's intelligent. They're looking for somebody that's ambitious. They're looking for somebody that's got some resources, at least as much as them, if not more. They're looking for somebody that cares about them and wants them, desires them. They're looking for somebody that's socially connected and savvy or can at least get along with the people that they care about. They're looking for somebody that's inspired by something. They're wanting the best package they can to help them fulfill the empowerment of all areas of their life and what they value most. So even our relationships are driven by our values. Our social interaction, we have in-group and out-group biases based on what we believe will give us more advantage and disadvantage on the people we hang out with. And our physical body is actually creating signs and symptoms. Anytime we don't feel we're fulfilling our highest values and not living by priorities, our body creates symptoms to let us know it, to get us back on the track to our real identity. In fact, our ontological identity, our real identity revolves around what we value most. Our purpose revolves around it, and what we excel at revolves around our highest value. So if you look very carefully, our highest value is really one of the most important things we can learn. I've been teaching a program called the Breakthrough Experience for 34 years, and that's one of the most important things I try to get people to do, because most people are comparing themselves to other people, putting them on pedestals sometimes or putting them in pits, and minimizing themselves or exaggerating themselves and not being authentic, and then trying to get themselves to live in other people's values, which is futile, or trying to get others to live in their values, which is futile. And that's a non-sustainable state. But if we actually are living by our highest values, the blood glucose and oxygen goes into the forebrain. We wake up our most objective forebrain, medial prefrontal cortex, executive center, where we're more balanced in view, less judgmental in view, less biased in view, less discriminatory, more objective and neutral, and we're able to see things more balanced and level the playing field where we don't put people on pedestals or pits, we put them in a heart. And everybody wants to be loved and appreciated for who they are. And who they are is an expression of their highest values. So if they fill their day with high priority actions that are deeply meaningful and inspiring to them, they increase the probability of having fulfillment and achievement and less noise in the brain. Because anytime we infatuate with something or resent something, it occupies space and time in our mind and runs us and distracts us, and it's all the noise. Anybody that's done meditation knows when they sit in meditation that initially there's all this noise in the brain. All that noise is all the infatuation, resentments that are stored in our subconscious mind, trying to find an equal and opposite to balance it, to liberate us. And the meditation can help us sometimes do that. But I've also developed new tools and methods to help people dissolve the emotional baggage that's running their minds, distracting them, all the impulses and instincts, all the thing that's vying for attention, it's noise, the static, the confusion, the baggage, the weighing down part of our life, and neutralize it. And I would say the quality of your life is basically the quality of the questions you ask. If you ask quality questions that bring balance to the mind and wake up the intuitive, integrative part of the brain, which is this medial prefrontal cortex, and which is our identity, you might say, our self revolves around that integrated self in the brain. We're not in our personas, and our masks, and our facades, and our judgments, and our where we weigh ourselves down. And we have a clear consciousness, and we empower that. And we're then inspired by that, which is what people are wanting in relationships, somebody that's intelligent, and our IQ and our EQ, emotional quotient, is balanced. Every time we live by highest priority, our emotional quotient goes up in a sense of governance, self-governance. Our IQ goes up because we're able to handle more abstract and more integrated things in our perception, integrated perceptions. But our business also goes up because when we exaggerate ourselves and we talk down to our customer or employees, we eventually get humbled. And if we minimize ourselves and let them go run wild, we got chaos. But if we level the playing field and realize that they're important, the customer's important, we're important, and we have a fair exchange that's sustainable, there's less noise in the brain. There's more sustainable fair exchange. There's more likely to be profits, and people want to continue to do business, and you want to get up in the morning and do business with them, and you can't wait to see them. They can't wait to see you. And so your business is enhanced by authenticity. Your mind is cleared by authenticity. Authenticity is an expression of your highest value. And in finance, as Warren Buffett says, don't expect to manage money if you can't manage your emotions. And whenever we're not living by our highest value, when we're not in our most authentic state or identity, and we're trying to be somebody we're not by puffing ourselves up or beating ourselves up, by putting others on pedestals or pits, or putting them in pits and the pedestals, whenever we have an imbalanced system like that, we don't know how to manage money. We get into narcissism and want to get something for nothing, or altruism, want to give something for nothing, which undermines the receiving of money or the management of money. So that's why in the breakthrough experience, I teach people the Demartini method on how to manage those emotions that are distracting you from being present, that are authentic for you, and allow you to actually be really, really, really authentic to yourself. That's where the power is. That's why in the breakthrough experience, I talk about the values and how important it is to identify your values and to prioritize your values and to delegate lower priority things and to live strategically and tactically according to what your values are. And then to take the emotions that you've been storing in the past and dissolve those so you're liberated and empowered in all areas of your life. But your noise in the brain is cleared, and the business is automatically now more likely to prosper. Your finances are more stable. You're more likely to feel self-worth, because whenever you're living by your highest value, your self-worth goes up, and you have less emotional baggage, less greed and fear, which is the things that undermines wealth building, and less emotions, which distract you from being present and objective when you're buying real assets to build wealth by. And in relationships, people want to be loved for who they are, and who they are is an expression of what they value most. And so all of human behavior revolves around these values. And your communication with somebody you love, when you can see how what their highest values are and what they're dedicated to and what they feel called to fulfill is helping you fulfill yours, and you can see how yours is fulfilling theirs, you have a dialogue, you have respect, you have love, you have a stable relationship, which I think is what people want. And in social life, when you're living by your highest values, you're more of a leader, because that's where you're spontaneously inspired to act. That's where you automatically do things without having to be motivated or reminded and incentivized externally. That's when you're called into action and you lead the path. In fact, original ideas and creativity and genius is born when you're pursuing challenges that inspire you in your highest value and when you're most authentic. That's why authenticity is the key to genius in the mind and creating original ideas for the world. And I think people want to make a difference, and that's how they do it. It's the key to helping you grow business. This living by the highest values is the key to mastering business and scaling up business. It's the key to wealth building. It's the key to relationship building. It's the key to leadership. And when you live by your highest value and you're more balanced in your perspective and temperate and moderate, as the Stoics used to say, you found the golden mean, as Aristotle wished people could find, and not be in their animal passions all the time, distracted by the impulses and instincts that distract us, which are all the consumptions, overconsumption and debt production and the separation and pain and pleasure instead of the integration of them, which I call love. And the second you do that, your physical body will give you less symptoms. Your symptoms of your body, your physiological and psychological symptoms, and your sociological and business symptoms are feedback mechanisms to guide you back to your authentic self and your highest value. I guarantee if a person will start to prioritize their life, and as we teach in the Breakthrough Experience, if they start prioritizing life, their life changes. But most people think, well, I got things to put out. I got fires to put out. They got things that are on their mind, and they let that run their life. The fear of being rejected, the fear of not fitting in, all these fears, the fear of not being smart enough, the fear of failing, the fear of not having enough wealth, the fear of losing loved ones, the fear of rejection, the fear of ill health, death, or disease, or the fear of not living by some moral and ethic to some spiritual authority you're subordinated to. These are what hold people back. And if you live by your highest values, you give yourself permission to be the leader. You start to physiologically bring yourself to homeostasis. You bring yourself to the autonomic regulation instead of dysregulation. Your epigenetics then code your physiology for mastery and eustress instead of distress, which is wellness promoting, not illness promoting. And you're inspired by your life, because when you live by your highest value, that's where you have the most inspiration in life. You're most dedicated to fulfill what's meaningful to you. So there's no way I can talk about human behavior and understanding human behavior without talking about values. Some of you heard me mention values in many different talks, and it's because it's the foundation. 50 years ago, I set out to be a teacher, travel the world and teach. 45 years ago, I learned the significance and the most significant component of that, which is how to master your life by knowing what your values are. That's why I have it free on my website, drdemartini.com. There's a free value determination process there. That's why every talk I do revolves around that. That's why the Breakthrough Experience, which is how to break through whatever you perceive in the way and turn it on the way, is based on that. Because the quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions you ask. And if you ask amazing questions to be able to balance out your perceptions, balance out your actions, you bring homeostasis and order to your life. If you want to find the hidden order in your life and not live with the apparent chaos, I tell people to come to the Breakthrough Experience and go online to do the value determination and take advantage of these complimentary talks that I'm giving, because there's a lot of gold in there. There's a lot of great information in there. I've been studying 50 years on this topic, and I know that if I've seen it with thousands and thousands of people, when they apply the principles that I'm sharing, they see the results. So I know if you listen to this again and again and again and start thinking about it and put it into operation and come to the Breakthrough Experience where I can make you actually do it and learn it. There is I actually sit down with for 8 hours and teach you how to do the method on how to dissolve emotional baggage, the resentments, the infatuations, the pride, the shame, all the things that are inauthentic that distract you from being present and poised and powerful and productive and prioritized and really, purposeful in your life. If you want to dissolve the distractions, there's a science for it. And if you then prioritize your life and live by priorities and really get clear about who you are and what your identity is revolved around, what your real mission is in life, there's no, universal mission that we all have, but there's a mission for each of us based on our voids and our values and based on our perceptions, decisions, and our values dictate that. And helping people identify that, I love doing, because as long as you're setting goals and objectives or goals that are not, and fantasies that are not aligned with what you value, you're going to beat yourself up. And a lot of the self-help gurus out there, they like to sell you on the idea, well, you got a weakness, you got a self-sabotage, you can't stay focused, you're undisciplined, you got all kind of baggage in there. Everything that's going on in your life, every symptom in your life is a feedback mechanism to help you be authentic. The limiting beliefs you have are only because you've subordinated to the outside authorities and given power to them and put them on pedestals, injected their values, and now confused yourself and clouded the clarity of your own calling in life that is trying to call you in to do something amazing. That's why I love breaking through that in the breakthrough experience and showing people how to get clear before they get labeled by somebody and then sold some BS that's basically not even a real issue. People say, well, I've sabotaged. I've not seen sabotage in 50 years. I've seen people expect themselves to live outside their own true values, not know who they are, not know what their values are, and they have no governance on themselves because they're living in lower values, which is designed to do that. The more you live in your lower values, the more the amygdala runs your life, and the more you let the impulses and instincts and distractions of the external world distract you from being present with who you are. And that's not sabotage. That's the body doing its job to try to guide you back to yourself. But you're not willing to be yourself because you're afraid of not fitting in, and you're afraid of maybe losing loved ones that you think are loved ones that you're actually infatuated with and dependent on. There's a way more powerful place to play in, and you don't have to be labeled. You don't have to get rid of any part of yourself to love yourself. You don't have to fix yourself or improve yourself. That's not what it's about. For years, I thought that was so back in the 70s and 80s, but I'm absolutely certain that the magnificence of who you are is there, but we're not seeing it. We don't make mistakes in our own values. We make mistakes when we compare our daily actions to what other people's values are. The second we put somebody on a pedestal and we think they're smarter than us, better than us, greater than us, more intelligent than us, and we inject their values and cloud the clarity of our own, we'll then judge ourselves by that and think we're going to make a mistake because we're not living in their values. Einstein warned against this. He said a cat that's expecting to swim like a fish is going to end up beating itself up. And a fish that's expecting to climb a tree like a cat is going to beat itself up. But a cat's not going to beat itself up when it honors who it is, which is a tree climbing cat. So I don't want you to be second to being somebody else. I want you to be first to being you. I don't want you to be living in the shadows of somebody. I want you to stand on their shoulders and realize that whatever you see in them, you have inside you. And give yourself permission to shine, not shrink. That's what the breakthrough experience is about. That's for people that want to take off and get on with their life and do something extraordinary and stop running the story and being the victim of their history so they can be masters of their destiny. So that's what human behavior is about. Human behavior is everything that's going on in your life that's a feedback mechanism to try to help you be the most magnificent you. If you know how to interpret what's going on in your life, you'll be grateful for what's happening. And once you do, you see things on the way, not in the way, and you're actually able to take command of your life. The way you take command of your life is just be yourself. The old Delphic Oracle, know thyself, be thyself, love thyself, has got more wisdom than first meets the eye. But the question is, who is that? And that's your highest value. That's why I want you to go on the website and do the value determination. That's why I want you to come to the breakthrough experience so I can make sure you do it accurately so you don't lie to yourself and not get distracted. And that's why I'm asking you to go and do the breakthrough experience to learn the Demartini method, which I think, in my opinion, is going to be the most efficient tool you'll find in your life to be able to dissolve the stuff that's distracting you from being the magnificent you, the present you. If you knew that method, you'd be there. I can tell you that, because people who have been through that, they usually join me and learn how to use the method to help other people, their loved ones, their families, because it's a very powerful method on how to dissolve the baggage that's distracting you from being the magnificent you. So human behavior is doing everything it can in your life to guide you to your authentic self. It's guiding you to the most profound you. It's guiding you to power that you have in all areas of your life. You want somebody like that, and you want to live that way, and there's no reason why you can't. So don't sit there and beat yourself up and compare yourself to others. Let's take what we're doing and compare our daily actions to what we value most and get back on priority and take advantage of knowing what your values are, prioritizing your life, delegating lower priority things, and coming to the breakthrough experience so I can show you 26 hours of material. I just gave you 25 minutes, 30 minutes of something here. But imagine if all of a sudden you had 26 hours. That's a lot more than that. And I'm absolutely certain 26 times, that's 50 times what I'm giving you here. And if you got anything out of this little process here, I guarantee you 50 times that is what you can have. And if you want to, come and join me for that, because I'd like to actually work with you one-on-one to help you do that. And I know that if you will give yourself permission to be the most magnificent you, the most authentic you, you're going to have the most fulfillment life. When we live our values, live according to our highest values, we have fulfillment. When we try not to and try to be somebody we're not, we have unfulfillment. The unfulfillment is a feedback to guide us back to true self. So you don't have to get rid of any part of yourself to love yourself. There's nothing missing in you. The things that you think are missing in you are only the things you're too proud or too humble to admit you have, that you judge in others and also in yourself. So come to the breakthrough experience. Let me show you how to transform that and to be able to go and live by priority and lead. You have a leader inside. You have a genius inside. You have a success inside. You have a wealthy individual inside. You have the empowerment of all 7 areas in life. I started working when I was 18 years old on wanting to empower all areas of my life. I've studied all these years on that science. And I know that the principles work. It's just a matter of getting them into your brain and getting them used and watch the results. So come and join me at the Breakthrough Experience. Take advantage of this. Watch this more than once. Take advantage of this little class I do every weekly. Go on the website, get the value determination process. Go on and look at our podcast, because there's tons of that way. You can just spend hours doing it on the Dr. Demartini show. And go look online for some of the articles and things that are in the media package in our website, because there is just a plethora. I mean, I've written for 1,532 magazines around the world, and there are just tons of information to educate. But come to the breakthrough where I get to do it live. That's where I love to watch transformations. At the end of the breakthrough, I ask people every week, how many of you learned something this weekend you could have gone your entire life, and if you hadn't been here, you would never have learned? Every hand goes up. So if you want to learn some original thinking, some novel ideas on how to master your life and how to be authentic and how to master human behavior and understand it and apply it, come to the breakthrough experience. I've said it. I want you to come because I know it'd make a difference in your life. Anyway, this is Dr. Demartini. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for joining me today. I know I spoke a bit fast. I get going and I get kind of inspired by what I'm sharing, but you can watch it again if you need to. But just know I just can't wait to actually work with you one-on-one to make a difference in your life. So I'll see you at the Breakthrough Experience, and I'll see you next week at this program. So thank you for joining me.